Today, I'm going to be reviewing the latest Jeff Tweedy album titled Twilight Override, which came out on September 26th of this year. Now, I know I'm a little late to reviewing this album, but it is a triple album. And with 30 songs, there was a lot of music for me to get through, not just once, but multiple times. If you don't know, Jeff Tweedy is the lead singer and songwriter of the band Wilco, which is a band that I only got into a couple years ago now. And although I'm well versed now on most of their albums, Jeff Tweedy's solo albums are still kind of a gray area for me. I've heard them all at least once or twice, but other than his first album, Together at Last, most of the albums I just don't know by heart. Going into this album, I was a little worried about how much I was going to enjoy it, not only because I have not gotten into his solo albums as much as Wilco's albums, but also because it's a triple album with 30 songs. I just wasn't sure how much I was going to get out of this album. I was afraid a lot of it was going to kind of sound the same, because something I've noticed with his solo albums, and maybe even with some more recent Wilco albums, is that he sometimes will kind of stay in a certain sound for most of the album. And even though it could be a sound I really enjoy, sometimes there's a little bit of variety that I feel like is lacked throughout some of his solo albums. Again, I enjoy the songs, but I just feel like sometimes the more downbeat acoustic songs just start sounding the same after a while. So months ago, when he started releasing songs from this album, I realized, I actually think I'm going to enjoy this album because there seemed to be variety. If you haven't already, you can actually check out one of our shorts on this channel where I went through the first 4 singles that were released. And I came out really enjoying most of the songs, especially the song Enough, which ended up being the album closer. Enough has just this classic rock sound to it that I was just really digging. I love the cowbell. I love the electric guitar riffs, which again, sometimes seems lacking from Jeff's solo work. I was able to connect to the lyrics a lot on this song. And I just love the vocal melodies, and especially on the third verse, where his voice just becomes more alive than it sometimes does. But I was also enjoying the other 3 songs as well. One Tiny Flower to me is one of the more Wilco sounding songs on the album. It just has this kind of production that kind of grows as the song continues on. And part of it is like delicate, and then part of it starts becoming weird with production, which I enjoy. Out in the Dark, simple song, but I enjoyed it. I like that this one had drums, and I like that it had full instrumentation. And Stray Cats in Spain actually is one that's really grown on me. I like how this song has a very rhythmic guitar and even strings as the song continues that kind of lifts and carries the whole song. Kind of a touching little almost memory that Jeff is thinking back on. And actually, some people online think that the song isn't about stray cats that he saw in Spain on vacation with his family, but more so him watching the band Stray Cats in Spain. There was also a couple more songs that were released after those first 4 songs. The song Feel Free, as well as Lou Reed Was My Babysitter. And again, with those songs, we just saw how much more variety was going to be on this album. But I will say this, by the time I got done listening to the album, probably for the second or third time, I kind of realized, even though this album does have a good bit of different sounding songs, to me, I can still narrow it down to 2 different types of songs. Those that are kind of more acoustic, maybe simpler instrumentation, kind of has that late Wilco's, not drony sound, but like Jeff's vocals are, a little bit more low key, a little bit more sterile. The melodies aren't as memorable. And again, not bad by any means. And some of the acoustic songs on this album are better than what I'm making it sound like. But then some do kind of get lost throughout the album. The other type of songs that are on this album, to me, are the more interesting production songs, which usually will have maybe some electric guitars. Maybe the song's format is different than the typical acoustic Jeff Tweedy song. Interesting guitar tones, interesting production. And again, some of those I really, really enjoy. And then there's a couple that I think maybe they take a little too far in that kind of abstract realm. But again, I kind of appreciate it more than some of the acoustic tracks. I will say I think this album flows fairly nicely, especially for it being a triple album. Now, I'm not going to lie and say that I loved every single song. And I also will say that I did go through and create my own one album tracklist version of the album, which I will get into at the end of this video. But I do kind of want to go through some of the songs and talk about some of the highlights for me, and maybe some of the songs that kind of missed. I think when it came to the acoustic songs, the ones that I preferred more were the ones that had drums in it, ones that maybe had a little bit more up tempo feel, and some of the ones that just had stronger hooks, especially when it came to Jeff's vocals. So for me, that would include songs like Caught Up in the Past, Forever Never Ends. So for me, those would be songs like Caught Up in the Past, Betrayed, Forever Never Ends, KC Rain, Western Clear Skies, Twilight Override, and This Is How It Ends. A song like Betrayed and Enough, which is still probably my favorite song on the album, those take a more kind of classic rock route when it comes to the style of song. Betrayed has this kind of slinky, kind of funny, but also fitting guitar riff. The whole song just kind of has this like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like playful. It's like Jeff's almost being kind of sarcastic, but then when the chords kind of change in the chorus, it seems to take itself a little bit more serious. I like that this song specifically has different moods within it. He takes a sound that probably could be overdone by himself, but kind of spices it up a little. Same goes for Forever Never Ends. Again, it kind of starts off kind of a simple song, but then halfway through, there's almost this like key change, and these epic guitars just come in. And again, on a Wilco album, it wouldn't be maybe as memorable and it wouldn't be as exciting. But on this sort of album, on a Jeff Tweedy solo album, these guitar solos and these just swells of the instrumentation is very much a welcome thing, at least for me. I think that verse melody that kind of goes up and down, it's very catchy. It's very hooky. It gets stuck in my head a lot. And that's one of the reasons why it's one that I want to come back to a lot. And then for This Is How It Ends, again, simple acoustic song. This one doesn't have as much of a drive as some of those other acoustic songs like Caught Up in the Past. But I really enjoyed just for that little simple guitar riff that he comes back to and back to again. Although for me, the thing that holds it back a little bit is probably his kind of scratchy, noodly guitars that he brings in near the end of the song. It works on some other songs on this album, and it works really well on Wilco songs. But on this song, I think I could have done without it. And not every acoustic song on this album works for me. There's some that I think are good, just not as memorable. Something like Love Is for Love, which I do like kind of the minor key sound to it. But again, the vocals just don't reel me in as much. Same thing with like Secret Door, Sign of Life. Throwaway Lines, I do like the lyrics and I like the concept of the song. But again, it just doesn't really stick with me. There's also some songs in this realm that are growing on me some more, like New Orleans. I do kind of like the really slow and almost dramatic sounding percussion. I like the backing vocals. Feel Free is another song that I really like the lyrics. It's probably the best song maybe lyrically on the album. Like, yeah, he's kind of doing this hippie Feel Free thing, but he kind of gets specific with some of the lyrics. He talks about the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, and he's bringing up all these kind of random lyrics that work together in the song. My issue with the song is it's 7 minutes long and the music just stays the same throughout the entire runtime for the most part. And the music is nice and it is kind of breezy, but I just don't love it enough for like the whole 7 minute stretch. And then when we get to the type of songs that are a little bit more interesting when it came to the production or the instrumentation, a lot of these I really enjoyed. Some of them being Parking Lot, Mirror, No One's Moving On, Lou Reed Was My Babysitter, and Stray Cats in Spain. On a first listen, those were the songs that really stood out to me the most besides the singles I've already heard. Parking Lot, love this song. I love that it's spoken word. I guess over the years, I've just decided I'm enjoying spoken word songs more and more because one of my favorite songs over the last couple of years is Death Cab for Cutie song, Foxglove Through the Clear Cut. And this song kind of has a similar approach. It doesn't rock out as much in like the choruses because this song doesn't really have chorus. It just has this kind of laid back, interesting progression. Some guitars come in. I think some steel guitars as well. some piano and just some kind of moody instrumentation. And it kind of just feels like you're standing out in a parking lot on like a really cloudy day. And then just vocals come in and it's just him talking. And he's kind of talking about this different version of himself, a type of person that he imagines he could be, someone who's like into cars and is cool. And I don't know, there's something about the song that I just think is kind of endearing and I really enjoy it. And I was not expecting it. However, I do think it being the third song on the entire track list is maybe a little earlier for a song like this. So on my version of the album, I did put it kind of more in the middle. Mirror is another standout track. This one, I kind of really enjoy the kind of spacey guitars that are kind of a little glitchy. I don't know if it's a certain pedal or what. They also sound really low. Like it does kind of sound like guitar mixed with bass. I love how they're surrounded on both the right and left channels when you're listening to it. Again, the lyrics, like, yeah, he's singing about a mirror and about your reflection. But I do think he does kind of take away some of the cliches lyrically. And it's maybe not like the catchy song, but again, between the electric guitars and the subtle percussion, I do find it a lot more interesting than some of the other more kind of straightforward acoustic songs. Maybe the song that I'm enjoying the most at the moment, though, other than Enough, which I've been listening to for the last month or so, is No One's Moving On. This song really sounds like it could have been on Gord Downie's solo album, Introduce Yourself, because it just has this production where the song is a little bit more driving than a lot of the other songs in the album, but the drums aren't super loud. They're not super impactful, but enough to kind of keep up with the tension that's coming from the bass line, which again is a simple bass line, but it kind of just moves back and forth between these two chords. And there's something about it that's like moving, that makes you feel like a little on edge. The guitars just do a good job at providing textures. And then Jeff's vocals on the song also sound a little bit more dramatic than on other songs. And I just feel like the performance is a lot more captivating than other songs on the album. And lyrically, too, I could just see the song also connecting with a lot of people. And it connects with me. I mean, this song does sound like something that maybe came from the struggles that everyone had in 2020, especially because, again, this is Jeff's first album that he's released since his last solo album back in 2020. And to me, the song just hits those same emotional spots that a lot of songs on that Gord Downie solo album did, where he's kind of singing about himself. He's kind of looking back on life. And again, the production just has this really cool contrast of like simple, but interesting, electric, a slightly laid back, and just, I don't know how to describe it. It has like this just like awesome indie sound that you hear on that Introduce Yourself album from Gord. And again, the lyrics I just really connect to. I mean, he ends the song asking why no one's moving on anymore. And it does kind of make you wonder, especially with a lot of struggles that we're dealing with currently in this country. It just hits all the marks for me. Lou Reed Was My Babysitter was another song that was released as a single a little before the album dropped. And on a first listen, I kind of thought, okay, this song is maybe trying a little too hard to be the rocker on the album. This one does kind of have a little bit of that kind of talking spoken word bit that he does in Parking Lot, but this one's set to kind of a more electric instrumental. A lot of backing vocals, which I do enjoy. And then you have the kind of repetitious line of the dead don't die, the dead don't die. I do like this song. It seems, again, another personal song for Jeff. Lou Reed Was My Babysitter. I mean, you just hear that line and you're going like, okay, when Jeff was younger, Lou Reed was probably a huge inspiration to him. I mean, I can see the influence that they've had on his career. And then, again, I wouldn't call Enough a interesting, cool production song, but it's also not an acoustic song. So it kind of lies in the middle. And maybe that's why it's maybe my favorite from the album, because, you know, it has that like kind of upbeatness of the acoustic song, but it's got the kind of more rocking instrumental, the classic rock production, but it keeps the interesting and more powerful vocal melodies as well as lyrics. But again, not all of the weirder production songs work for me. My least favorite song by far on the album is probably Wedding Cake. I just do not dig the progression on the song. It's just really dark and almost kind of eerie. I just don't love the note choices on this one. I appreciate a song like Blank Baby, really reverby, a lot of space. Again, the cool backing vocals, but the backing vocals aren't as impressive as a song like No One's Moving On. On that song, the backing vocals come in and they're like haunting, and it adds to the overall emotions of the song. Where on Blank Baby, it adds textures, which I think is cool, but I don't know. It just doesn't hit the right spots for me. Even though I do appreciate it, I just don't enjoy it as much. And my slight issue with the album is it is long. And I will say this too, when it comes to double or triple albums, I'm never going to complain, because when it comes to an artist or band that I love, when it comes to them releasing a lot of music, I will always take the most amount of music possible. Like, yes, quality over quantity, but still, if I'm a diehard fan, I want to hear it all. So I'll never complain about an album being too long in a sense. At the same time, I also can understand that an album could be better if songs are cut. And there's just some songs in here that are either still growing on me, or I just don't do a lot for me. Like a song like Too Real, Saddest Eyes, Cry Baby Cry, Better Song, Secret Door. Not bad songs, not amazing songs either, though. So I am going to propose my track list that I kept down to 15 songs, which you might be thinking is still a lot of songs for one album. But this album has 30 songs, which is like more than twice the amount of songs on an average album nowadays. So if I was to do this album track list and cut the song down to 15 songs, here's how I would do it. I would keep One Tiny Flower as the album opener, follow it up by Caught Up in the Past. But then I would add in Western Clear Skies, because I think it's kind of like Caught Up in the Past, but a little slower, a little bit more playful. Then I followed it up by Mirror, add a little bit of that more abstract sound and atmosphere to the album. Then Out in the Dark, because I do think it's a solid album track. Number 6 would be Betrayed, have a little bit more fun, have a little bit more of that kind of classic rock sound. Then 7 is where I would do Parking Lot. Maybe not middle of the album like I thought I originally had it in, but I still think Parking Lot being at track 7 just makes it more of a kind of an impact and makes it more of like the centerpiece of the album. Then I'd follow it up with Lou Reed Was My Babysitter, because I think you need to get the album kind of moving again, a little more up-tempo, faster song. Then I would place Casey Rain at number 9. Then For Never Ever Ends. Forever Never Ends? That's a weird song to say out loud. 11 would be Stray Cats in Spain, song that's really grown on me. 12 would be No One's Moving On, probably my favorite song currently. 13 would be Twilight Override, which I didn't really talk about before, but I do love this song. It begins with those atmospheric guitars that sound exactly like the intro of Whole Love, which is one of my favorite Wilco songs of all time. And then it gets more acoustic than The Whole Love, but I do love Jeff's vocals on the song, and it's probably the prettiest song on the whole album. Penultimate track would be This Is How It Ends. It just has that kind of penultimate track vibe to me, even though it is a little bit more low key. But that's because the album closer, I would still keep with the song Enough, because it's my favorite song on the album. I think it's a good, kind of a feel-good way to end the album. I like how upbeat it is. And it would make me want to kind of restart and replay the album. So yeah, those are my overall thoughts on Twilight Override. Do I like it more than other Jeff Tweedy solo albums? Yes, but I will say I gave this album a lot of listens since it was released weeks ago, because I wanted to do a review on this channel, but because I think that's the problem with his other solo albums. It's a personal problem. I have not given those albums enough time. And with how much I enjoyed a lot of these songs on this album, it does make me want to go back to his other solo albums and give those a second and third and fourth listen, because I think I'll enjoy them more the more I listen to them. Does this rank amongst some of Wilco's albums? Probably not, because I think Wilco, just as a band, just tends to at least release more music that is more interesting to me. But I think this is a really solid album. Is it a little bloated because it is 30 songs as a triple album? Perhaps, but I am glad to have heard all of these songs, and I do think most of them should have been released. I just think that there is a slimmer, better album buried within all the songs. So right now, I'd probably give this album an 8 out of 10. I did really enjoy it. It'll be very interesting to see where it ranks at the end of the year because there are other albums this year that have been released that I've maybe enjoyed a little bit more. But because this album has so many songs and some of these songs are still growing on me, this could actually be a grower by the time the year is up. But that'll be it for me today because I do not want this review to be as long as the actual album. So definitely drop us a comment and let us know what you think of this album. What are some of your favorite songs? What are some of your least favorite songs? Do you think it should have been a triple album? Or do you think it should have been shorter? And if so, what would your ideal track list look like? And yeah, I'll probably be back with some more reviews by myself in the future. Tony might be back with some reviews of his own, but him and I will definitely be back doing more episodes later next week. So stay tuned till then. But we hope you take care and you'll be hearing from us soon. Bye-bye.